I'll just get the recording started, and then I will also share my screen, and I'll wait for a tiny bit before we get started. It's in the UK, bro. The Midlands. But I will be opening in the future. Do want to open some abroad in places like Hong Kong and Thailand as well. I've been into cooking from a young age, so it seemed like an obvious business choice to go down for. Is it? To be honest, I've not really looked at it, so I appreciate the heads up, bro. I'll definitely I'll for sure make sure I know what I'm doing before I expand outside. But yeah, okay, damn. But yeah, I'll be in Hong Kong, moving out to mainland. And just come to Hong Kong for biz. Yeah, that's what I'm planning to do. So my fund, my hedge fund, I'm opening with my friends. That's going to be open in Hong Kong just because the taxes are so much nicer than the UK. Um, so right now we're getting institutional sort of investments raises like minimum 100k. We've already raised a nice amount. Just need to go and talk to some lawyers. I've got some friends who are lawyers. Need to talk to some um, sort of quantitative analysis people. Make sure there's no loopholes whatsoever before I actually go through and properly register the business with my friends and open it up. But we're trying to get into the property side of things. Buy some apartment blocks out. And then after that, expand out of HK to places like Thailand, Nepal, so on and so forth. But the fund is what's going to kickstart it. So that's where I'm. That's literally what's been keeping me so busy. That and my restaurants right now. Yeah, Thai and Malaysia for sure. I love Malaysia when I visited. Malaysia was nice, bro. It was so good for real estate. Yeah, I've got some properties in Thailand, but this isn't, we're not trying to buy it for like personal use. We're trying to get some so we can sort of either just buy up land that we think is going to do well in the future, or just buy up something like nice properties we can then get the revenue flow started with. Yeah, for sure. Um, that's why I'm not restricting myself to just UK for properties. I got a couple in the UK, but got a couple in Thailand. Got a load in Nepal. A lot of land in Nepal. Himalayas up there. Very nice land. That's my sort of getaway when I want to just fuck off from the rest of the world. Just go and stay up there. Um, but I've got some properties in the mainland as well in Nepal, and then going to look at some properties when I'm in Asia for quarter 4 this year, because I do want to get a place in Hong Kong. I think I'll need one to just have like a permanent address and stuff. My friend said I could just use his, but I was like, well, if I'm gonna get into properties, then I might as well get my own, right? So when I'm in Hong Kong, it's going to be to open that fund and also to look at some properties for me to get. But yeah, the reason I've been busy isn't because I've been just like sort of um, because I don't want to stream or anything like this. I just don't have the time, right? But yeah, I thought it's been a couple of weeks, so why not carve out an hour out the day so that I can stream in front of you lovely people. So let's just get started, right? Because I've got like 40 minutes to an hour max, so let's just get into it. How are you guys all doing with regards to trading before I get started, right? Because I know the chart is probably going to be driving some people absolutely crazy. That's fine. That's fine. You don't need to be in a lot of trades. That's good. One advice I can give you with that, Chantel, is make sure before you sort of start sizing up and start using a lot of money, right? There's something I tell my own clients and my own sort of people in my own group a lot. Make sure you have not just a week or a month of profitability. You want quarter after quarter after quarter of profitability. Okay, do that for over a year or two. After that, you start throwing in size that can actually make you a lot of money. If you're profitable for like a month, don't just all of a sudden start saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going to trade with everything I have." Because trust me when I say that is not a big enough sample size to really gauge where you're at. But yeah, once you keep at it, right, and you see that quarter after quarter, right, you're profitable. That's where you slowly start sizing up with how much money you actually trade with. Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. Love to hear that. Yeah, I never recommend anyone be a full-time trader. In all honesty, very few people are built for it. People ask me all the time, why am I not a full-time trader? I could probably be a full-time trader if I wanted to, but I'm 25, bro. What the hell am I gonna do? You know, having no businesses, having no connections, having no sort of experience, just sitting behind a screen clicking buttons. Like, sure, I could probably make some money, but I would not. I'm not really gonna be a respectable member of society, right? My life means more to me than just sitting in a chair clicking buttons, which is why I'm not a full-time trader. And full-time trading should never be anyone's dream. It shouldn't. You're not building anything. You're not leaving a legacy behind. You're not doing anything like that. It should be something to supplement your lifestyle, right? Now, if I ever want to make an expensive purchase, or if I want to, if I want to go on vacation, if I want to buy a watch, if I want to buy a car, whatever, my goal is, right, let me open up a challenge account. If I can make the profits that I need to spend, I will spend it with the profits. That's it. Trading's fun when you do it that way. That's it, gentle. 20, bro. It's like you've got so much to build up. You know what I mean? A lot of things to experience. A lot of people to meet. A lot of a lot of ideas to go through. Yeah, don't restrict yourself. Just my advice, of course. People can do what they want, but yeah, that's it. We're not Smaug, right? We're not Smaug. Keeping our goal in the mountain. That's good. Journaling's important. That's good. I don't really journal that much myself anymore, but I've got a lot of experience in the market, like a decade plus. I've actually got market exposure from a very very young age, right? Way younger than most people, which is why I've got my own system even though I'm only 25. That I've got a proven track record for. Um, but yeah, anyway, let's get into this, right? So first things first, I'm gonna go over Bitcoin. I know many people are absolutely struggling with thinking they've called the top, anything like this. Please understand, Bitcoin by no means. There's nothing on that screen that you're seeing in front of you right now, right? Absolutely nothing should indicate that Bitcoin has topped out. Okay, absolutely nada. There is nothing indicating that Bitcoin has topped out over here.
I agree.
Yo, what's up,
Hey,
Caleb?
what's
How you
up,
doing,
brother?
bro?
Good, bro. How's it going? Nice to hear your voice.
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Same with you, bro.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. It's been an interesting market. I mean, this break of structure to the downside, liquidity grab was inevitable, right?
Yeah,
I had 111.9 as up my bottom support level, which was obviously the previous high, right?
yeah,
So we basically just wicked down and grabbed that. And yeah, I agree with your sentiment, bro. I don't think we go too much lower. Lowest I'm really looking at is like 107.8 if we
yeah,
do make a
yeah,
it's whether we make a continuation of a bearish structure on a lower time frame or we have a continuation of bullish market structure. For
yeah.
me, I'm waiting for the safe long. So longing at 12 would have been great, 13 even better. But I think if we break above 16.5 and get higher time frame closes above that, for
Mhm.
me, that's the confidence we're gonna go higher. It could also be a PO3 and then we reject and then reverse. But I do think based on USDT dominance and Bitcoin has the chance for another 5% move maximum to the downside from CMP.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, bro. Yeah, I think people get very hasty calling tops, and they've been doing it the entire cycle. Tops here, tops here, tops here, tops here, and all we've experienced this entire time has just been time-based capitulation. We hit the 3.14 extension. For those of you, one of the reasons anyway, right? I'm not claiming this is the only reason why we topped out where we did, but something I shared way ahead of time is that ABCD 3.14, right? The macro wave structure from all the way back here. A, B, C. The first target was the 2.24. The second was the 2.618. The third one is the 3.14, right? The BSFP that. So we have a logical reason in terms of a significant level, right? On why we rejected where we did, but I don't think it's over. Like I've always said, even before we had this move up, my thesis was I think we get a blow off top somewhere between 121 to 132, and I'm still along that, right, along those lines of thought. If we could start building above 132, then just set it in multiples of 10, 140, 150, right, 160, whatever. But I don't really care about anything higher than this. My ultimate thing is, do we see bearish structure once we've completely filled this zone right over here? Because that would represent an entire 3.618 extension of your bear market lows to your first major rejection that you had, right? Which is why I'm keeping these levels close to heart. I'm keeping an eye on them. If you look at Bitcoin even locally, you're above literally everything you need to be above. You're above, first of all, your 2024 high, right? I love looking at the yearlies. 2024 high, you're above it, right? First major sign of bullishness. That's fine. Second of all, if you look at the biannual close we had, right, the 6-month close, you are also above the high of the previous 6-month close, right? So the latest higher time frame close that we've had is the 6-month close. You've retested and held for now the high of that. So for us to be calling tops, right, well, something needs to happen, and that something is the last high low, that let's say the higher high on a daily, on a weekly basis, whatever, needs to be taken out, right? So if you were to see on the lower time frame, you start turning sort of this area, right, 2024 high, the mid of the area where the sellers were in control, previous biannual term for this year so far. If you see we break below that and then sellers once again step in, right, and you see buyers are attempting to break above but they can't, you're seeing that the aggressive buying that's going to happen there is being absorbed, right? You're seeing basically that the buyers are getting trapped. Then you have a very logical reason here to why you would open up whether it's a swing short, a scalp to swing, whatever, you would hedge, right? Because at that point, 100k, 93k, down to 88k, if you lose that, 83, 74, those are your higher time frame targets, right? But for that to happen, for you to even consider these targets, you need to break your structure. And to break the structure, you need to drop all the way to around 98.4 on the weekly, and then put a lower high in somewhere along the way, right? If you get that structure, right, if you start printing any sort of an inverted smiley on a higher time frame over here, you're going to have a beautiful area to short somewhere around here anyway. So it doesn't matter if you're not short from, let's say, 120, 119, whatever. It doesn't matter at all, right? Because as we speak right now, the data on the screen is telling us that we are still bullish, right? We are still bullish. Structure hasn't been broken on a higher time frame basis, right? Lower time frame, that's a different story, right? For now, I'm speaking in terms of a more higher time frame trader right now. We haven't broken structure right now, right? There's still a lot of work that needs to be done by the bears to actually confirm a breaker structure. Even if you were to grab the liquidity all the way down over here, if you did not take this lower high out, you're still going to be putting on the high low in on the weekly, right? It's only if you start taking this now, the last high low, that let's say the high out, that I would start getting worried on the higher time frame, and then looking for a structure that would actually enable me with chest to say I think we've topped out, right? For now, I don't see it. So that's my thesis on Bitcoin. That follows then, of course, you're going to be looking at things like Bitcoin dominance. You're going to be looking at things like USD, your stablecoin dominance, right? Look at Bitcoin and stablecoin dominance together. But the main thing is to not you have to play this logically. You can't play this emotionally, right? If you're in the red because you top blasted and then obviously we've had a little drawdown, then that's it. Just recuperate. There's nothing else you can do now, right? Just wait, and then your next step to look for is to see, do we get that breaker structure? Because if you get that on the higher time frame and you're still holding spot, whatever pump you get after that will be to get rid of whatever spot backs you have, right? At a less loss than it would be if you just held it down and try to get rid of it at these lows, for example. But until, like I said, until those sort of structures come in, we are fine, right, on Bitcoin. Pair this with the fact that many people expect August to be red, right? But one thing that I've been saying is, if you look at seasonality-wise, yes, August is terrible. But if you look at seasonality, the halving years, right? You look at post-halving years. If the post-halving years, July has been green, which last July was extremely green, then every single post-halving year, August has been green as well, right? So even though typically August is red, yes, this is a post-halving year, and July was green. So in terms of seasonality, I would not be surprised, right? I'll repeat, I will not be surprised if August ends up closing green for Bitcoin. Okay, so that's something to watch for. Now, does that mean the seasonality has to play out? No, right? But this is exactly like doing TIP. We're trying to notice patterns, and the pattern so far has been post-halving years. If the July has been green, August has also been green. right? So hopefully what this is like an early month shakeout, right? And then maybe towards like the end of August, or like maybe like the last 10 days, something like this, maybe we get some sort of a nice pump. I don't know, right? We could still have a red August, but that's why the best thing to do is know your seasonalities, have a plan, but main thing, just watch price action around key levels. If the price action here starts being bearish, you have loads of key levels to scalp the swing shorts off. Okay, so you're not going to be left just like, with your dick in your hands, basically, if things do take one more slip to the downside. But all in all, I think Bitcoin looks great. I'm hoping for one more push up, like 132, so on and so. Basically, hit the 3.618, right? After the 3.618 is hit, then it can do whatever it wants. Like anything higher than that, I'm going to see as just a blessing, right? My target's always been somewhere between 121 to 132 for a blow off top, and I really don't, and I really wish. And I really wish that 121 is not the max that we go to, right? Ethereum, on the other hand, I think looks absolutely phenomenal. And let me go open up a new chart for ETH over here. One sec. Here. Okay, so Ethereum, the reason we're rejecting, we've basically hit the top of a very key area, right? This area that has always been resistance. This is the same levels we've looked at for years now on Ethereum, right? I've not changed anything. There's significant levels from, years and years of data that's been incorporated. It's the same area that we've hit, right? Right now, you've had a bearish engulfing candle that has back tested your 2024 yearly levels and your 2021 yearly levels, and you are rejecting off it, okay? Therefore, if you want a hedge, as long as you are below this general area on Ethereum, your risk to reward is going to favor shorts over longs, okay? Especially if you're thinking higher time frame. If you're thinking lower time frame, you're going to have to do like level by level. But even in terms of lower time frame, these levels are close enough to each other where if you treat this as just one big zone that needs to be held on Ethereum, right? Then currently we are not holding it, we are below it. The only thing saving you right now is the fact that the low of this key inflection area is right over here, right? 3,581, right? That's the only thing that's saving you right now. You lose that as well. Next target for ETH, 3,335. Below that is the historical price range mid, somewhere around 3k ETH basically. You lose that, 2,800. So again, you've got targets lower. And this is the area where you're going to pay attention. If you see buyers are not being rewarded, this is where you head short. Okay. We've hit the 2.0 target for the ABCD as well. ABC 0.5, 2.0 extension, and if we get below that 2.0 and the key inflection area low too, that's your last saving grace. You're going to slip very fast towards, like I said, 3,350, 3,000 and let's say 35, and then 2,800 to like 2,600 basically. We've got key levels lower right here, 3,100, 2,800, 2,500. That's the range you're playing with, right? If this is the range highs, that's your range lows. So if the range mid is lost, we can't be surprised if you do go all the way to the range low. You would still be putting a high low in on the daily. Look, even if you did this, that's a high low on the daily. Ethereum would be fine, right? Let's hope it doesn't happen, right? But all I'm not trying to FUD anyone. I'm just trying to say, look, you guys know I'm an ETH bull, right? I'm very much in ETH. I'm in ETH against BTC as well. However, I can't in good conscience tell you should be top blasting Ethereum at resistance, right? How would you enter Ethereum here now? If you could break above and actually flip this area into support, then you have a reason to actually enter, because price action is coming at it from the opposite angle, right? Sellers are trying to take control, and if they're not being rewarded, then that's saying that the aggression that the sellers are showing is being completely diminished by the buyers, right? That would be a narrative for you to then target further upside. I don't think ETH is topped out, right? And by that I mean on the macro, not locally. Locally, just look at price action. I think ETH goes maximum I'm looking for ETH this cycle, 6,519. But the more realistic target, in my opinion, 5,890 to 5,935. Right? Your rate of all-time highs is going to be after you sweep 4,776 to 4,868. These targets will be getting hit. I don't know when, right? But I do think these will get hit before the cycle is over. Right? I think ETH has much higher to go still. Which explains why ETH against BTC just doesn't die, right? It's holding above its macro points of control. Now this is ETH against BTC on Binance. One fixed range volume profile pull all the way from the left, all the way to the right. 68%, or rather for most guys, 70% of all traded volume is between those two blue lines, right? Meaning this is the price where the most single, this is the single price, let's say, right? The line in the sand where the most transactions have occurred on ETH against BTC, right? If you can claim that as support, just understand that is extremely powerful, right? That is basically buyers telling you we are ready to take this very pivotal level where the most volume has occurred, and we're ready to defend it with everything we have, right? And that is what ETH against BTC is basically trying to do right now. We're just ranging between, again, your 2020 yearly highs. That's where you've topped out for now, 2020 high, right? And your 2019 yearly mid, right? That's your range right now. 2 yearly levels, you're just going sideways, and the mid of the range is basically a macro point of control. So if by the time the consolidation's done, this is support, ETH against BTC is just gonna go higher. And I pray we get a flash crash on ETH against BTC, because I am looking to size up on this, right? If you've seen my Twitter, you guys know that challenge account that I was talking about for ETH against BTC. This was $14 to 1,000 plus, right? I have more capital to size up with here, right? I don't want just a $14 position size should it just go up over here, right? There's more of the portfolio that I can use for that challenge account, but I'm not going to size up in the middle of nowhere. I'm only going to size up at discount, right? Or once we get clear confirmation that you're out of this range. Those are only 2 triggers to size up. Until then, I'm just going to stay patient. But trust me when I say I've been waiting for this flash crash for weeks now on ETH against BTC. So that's ETH against BTC, right? So let's look at some majors, and I'll also check back to the chats real quick, right over here. Where is it? Your visuals, how you doing, bro? I didn't know you were here. What's up? Yeah, go on, Caspi, bro. No, so this one I've just sort of placed down, right? This isn't a official harmonic yet, because the ratios are all off. This is still a work in progress. It can be a proper ratio. It's just a matter of from where. It's very messed up. I would still call this a I still think this is viable as a crab, right? Because you have a 618 at the end of the day. However, that is way past the limits of a crab. A crab is up to 3.618. That's a bit of an extension. So I would look at D as a potential target, but this isn't the best wave structure. This is just something. This is the only thing, in fact, I can put on my screen right now in terms of wave structure. So it's just a rough guide, basically, bro. Don't take this with a grain of salt. This isn't a proper harmonic yet. Just an idea. It hasn't even completed. Yeah, so let's go look at some majors, right? Master list. We have Dixie. We want Dixie to just keep dying. If I go to clean, Dixie here. Yeah, we want Dixie to keep dying. Like I've been saying, you're at the bottom of your parallel channel, right? Which is why Dixie's bouncing from where it has. You're also above your T1, right? You have a multi-year wave structure. Look, this started 2001. Okay, 2001 this started. XABCD, you have hit a deep Godly, right? And the normal Godly, 786, 886. And now you've hit your first target, which is why we're slowing down here, right? This is typically the area where you would expect a type 2 return. And I hope we don't get that. I hope we get continuation to the downside on Dixie, right? I hope we don't get a type 2 return here, because that would be terrible for the markets in general, for risk on assets. So what I'm hoping for is just a flash, get to the 618, get a bit lower, just really play the bearish harmonic out, and then in the future maybe complete some sort of bullish harmonic and then go higher. But do be wary, right? For a proper alt season, we do need a bearish Dixie. If it starts bouncing from here, alts are going to be stifled for that much longer, right? But all in all, that's the Dixie, currently around a very key level. The line in the sand for now is 97.939. Now, USDT dominance at support. We've been talking about this, right? In fact, this is something we were talking about. What I was saying was, if you can't break down from here straight away, that's fine. What I'd want to see is a move up, rejection from this general area, and then a move down, right? That's what I want to see. So I'm really hoping, I'm praying with everything I have, that if we have one more strab higher, we don't go and reclaim this. That's what I'm hoping for. Okay, I'm hoping for a clean rejection and then just death. That's what I'm hoping for on USDT dominance. Right now, above yearly levels, 2024, above 6-month levels, right, 4.35%, 4.32%. As long as you're above this, just understand you're at support, right? So you're not going to be longing anything here, because if this goes up, generally speaking, the crypto market is going to be going down. Okay, so this is at support as we generally speak. We want to see this like being lost, and then go take out all the external liquidity. We lose this red line, we are cleared to absolutely run, right? That's the thing that's defending it all the way from history. Look, from 2017 to 2019, that's what's defending the price right now. But there's, it's not just USDT. You've got USDT plus USDC dominance. This is something I like looking at. That is also at support, right? The liquidity rate of a golden pocket plus your 852 on the diagonal was hit, right? But you're rejecting off the 6.6 for now. Nothing much to do here on a macro level. That is support, right? If you wanted to, you could go higher, maybe give us some sort of dragon before going lower. But ultimately, I want to break down from here, and ultimately for the bull market top, if it plays out how I hope it will, somewhere around the 87886 is where I would then start saying, okay, I should probably take a shit ton of profits off, get some shit off exchanges, because this is typically when exchanges start going under, so on and so forth, to kickstart a bearish narrative. Because this is where I expect somewhere around this region, market top to come in, right? Because again, you just have a massive bullish harmonic. The 886 is right there. Again, multi-year in the making. 2019, 2022, right? 2022. That peak was 2022, and now all the way, hopefully in 2025, 2026 here, somewhere around there, we get this multi-year completion of this massive, massive bullish harmonic pattern, right? Bitcoin dominance. We've broken structure on the higher time frame on Bitcoin dominance. That's what I absolutely love to see, right? That's a bearish engulfing candle. You've created a bearish order block on the way down, right? So even if you were to keep going higher, if we can sort of distribute around this level, and we confirm that break of structure, because like I said, on the weekly basis, if you take a look, the last higher low that led to the higher high has been taken out, right? So now if a lower high comes in, that's your first sign you've gone from the right side of the V back to the left side of the V, from the buy side to the sell side, right? And we want to be on the sell side on Bitcoin dominance, especially if you're trying to trade and make money now off alts. Okay, I think Bitcoin has very, very limited upside potential from here. Don't forget, Bitcoin didn't break out from 68k. It came all the way from 15,000, right? We've already had a 700 something percent move up on Bitcoin. So I think it has very limited upside potential from here, right? Which is where if you're going to make money, even though it's riskier, you're going to want to slowly and over time position in alts, right? Which I'm already positioned a lot in alts. Of course, I still have my Bitcoin, I still have my Ethereum, right? But if I'm going to rotate, it's going to be off Bitcoin. Like I've moved more of my Bitcoin into Ethereum, right? And if Bitcoin goes even higher, I'll take some more profits and I'll move some of that into altcoins now, especially if Ethereum also starts looking like it's got limited upside, so on and so forth. Just about rotations. That's how I really blow up, snowball profits, right? In a bull market, even in a downtrending market, rotations is how you really, really snowball profits. But what I'm really, really hoping for is just especially if you were to pump back up towards this area and put a distributive structure in, inverted smiley face, for me, that would send us down way lower, right? ETH dominance looks beautiful, right? Holding the front run of your 382. I expect this to go high. Nothing enough said. This is a completed M shape, right? Liquidity rate to reclaim, confirm the bat, and now you're going higher. So you can see the dominance of Ethereum is rising. If the dominance of Bitcoin keeps falling while the dominance of Ethereum is rising, ETH against BTC is going to absolutely outperform, right? This is the reason why ETH against BTC has not dropped, right? Now, of course, there is also Bitcoin dominance plus stablecoin dominance, right? This is a good one to look at because for alt season, what do you want? You want Bitcoin dominance dropping and you want your stablecoin dominance dropping at the same time. You don't want people in Bitcoin, you don't want people in stablecoins, right? You want people selling their Bitcoin or getting that rotation from Bitcoin to alts rather. And you want people not holding on to USDT, USDC, so on and so forth. You want that money in exchanges. You want that money in rotation, buying up supply, right? Providing liquidity on exchanges so that there is more buying pressure. Just taking tokens off the market. You want that USDT, USDC in use. Therefore, we need this to be absolutely breaking down for proper alt season. Okay, the reason you can see we've had a pullback on alts this week has been because both Bitcoin dominance and stablecoin dominance have had a sharp rise up. They were both in support. But this is something we talked about previous stream. I said, okay, don't be surprised if you get a pullback. Don't enter any new positions because everything's a resistance and Bitcoin dominance and stablecoin dominance look ready to have a little move up. But this is also the last high low that led to the higher high has been taken out. So if a lower high can be printed Doesn't matter where it is. We just need confirmation of a lower high. I'll be looking to the 382, the 618, and perhaps even lower, right? Those are your 2 targets. That's what we need for full-blown alt seasons, like altcoin mania. Okay. Total still looks absolutely fine. You know, you're back testing what was resistance, right? Those the ABCD 2.0 and the 1.272 that was I gave literally last year, way at a time. You're back testing that as support. Even if you have one more stab lower, it's fine. If you can confirm the supply line breakouts into support and then reclaim, we'll be sat in an even better position to rally higher. And I would expect 4.42 to 4.7 trillion first, 4.69 after that, and then, you know, just level by level after that. Who knows, right? Just level by level based on key targets. But total 1 for now still looks fine, but this is your first sign of what was once resistance perhaps being flicked back into resistance, which could be a sign of incoming downward pressure, right? But that does not mean a top or anything like this, okay? We want that breakout to hold, and then we want that reclaim if it does lose the 3.63 trillion line. Total 2, again, just sideways really. You flip the T2, the second target of the harmonic, right? That 886 right there, the bats. You flipped it into support. You had a nice little zone that we said you need to work with. The 2021 seller zone low, and the harmonic. You've held that into support for now. So if we can sort of hold this, I wouldn't be surprised if total 2 pushes up again, which again is indicative of Ethereum, indicative of Ethereum perhaps still going to be catching rotations, right? If total 2 starts to outperform, you know Ethereum is going to be the one that's leading. But, you know, total 3, like I said, we'd hit Gartley targets, right? We'd hit the deep Gartley and the normal Gartley targets on total 3. So it's not a surprise again that alts had a pullback. Last week, we hit the target, right? We couldn't get above over 2 weeks. We closed below the 786, therefore we had a nice little pullback. We completely filled the weekly buy-seller zone that I'd marked in the past. I literally believe I put this up last stream. We filled that, and as long as we're above this, higher. If you lose this, then right into the fair value gap and higher. But typically, look, if that B point is flipped into support, which for now it is, you've just increased the probability of that 1.618 hitting. Okay, that's all you've done. Because if that B point is support, the probability in harmonics of the D point hitting increases, right? So now if you can go and, you know, reclaim this into support, I'd honestly just straight up look for that 1.46 trillion sort of level, right? The deep crab, the normal crab, 2 different wave structures taking it higher. So others still looks fine. Higher highs and higher lows, right? Just slowly pushing up. It doesn't have to go up straight away. Remember, the euphoria phase doesn't last long, right? Typically what you get is this sort of general structure and then a couple months of this and then just straight down again, right? So people expect this straight away. You need structure before you get that, right? So I believe we're putting that structure in now. DeFi also looks fine. You're reclaiming yearly levels, right? As long as you're doing that, as long as you're putting in higher highs and higher lows, it's going to keep grinding up, right? Many things still are in an uptrend is the point I'm trying to make. So if anyone's here thinking the market is topped out, if that is your definite belief, then my counter argument would be, look how much confidence we have that we haven't topped out yet being the clear word, right? If price action then shows me distributive structure around key areas that makes me think, okay, this is extremely weak, then I'll be saying live in front of you guys, okay, I think that there's a very high likelihood the top is in, but I just don't see it right now. Okay, I don't see it. So that's all the macros pretty much, right? We know that the Bitcoin CME gap got filled in the recent pullback. I forgot, I think it was on the daily. Yeah, the CME gap has been completely filled. So I mean, it's good to go higher, unless it wants to come down and fill some of this, because there's still a CME gap remaining down at 92k, but I don't see that happening right now. Hopefully we go higher. Leave this one for the next bear market, I say. Let me check back to the chat here. Short scalp ETH at 3720 or 3817. Hang on, let me look back at the ETH chart. Where's it gone? Here. So the two levels you said is 3720 or 3817. Yeah, so this right here, as long as you're below this, okay, let's say you get one more stab up into this, right? If, again, you know, there's different ways you can look at this. You can look at order flow. You can just do it, try and do it through candlestick patterns. The best option, in my opinion, is order flow, right? Market profile, TPOs, volume profiles, volume delta, footprint charts. But however you decide to do it, if you see aggressive buying not being rewarded in this area, right, then you would take that short. Now, for scalping, you're not going to be looking at the 1 hours, right? If I'm scalping, I'm on the 1 minute, 3 minutes, heck, I'm on the tick based charts, right, which is even lower. Tick based is not time based, right? This is now contracts based. But on the lower time frame, you see clean rejections like this, front runs of areas, right? We go to the left. Do we see confluence? We see an order block right over here, right? Previous order block that got that we dropped from on the lower time frame. You see moments like this where you have yearly levels, where you front run that yearly level, you've hit the order block mid, clear weakness. Those are areas where you typically take your scalp trades, right? You know, 0.12% risk. If you're scalping, forget DCAs, right? I know many people like to give calls saying, oh, I'm scalping this with entry 1, DCA 1, DCA 2, TP1, TP2. Screw all that. If you're scalping, you're either right or you're wrong. Okay, do not make the mistake of trying to DCA your way out of a scalp. That's not the purpose of scalping. If you're trying to absorb the chop, stick to the higher time frame. Lower time frame, you're trying to trade the chop. No, right? The way I do it, no scalping. Sorry, no DCAs, no DCA 1, DCA 2, no TP1, TP2. You get in, you get out when you see weakness coming in, right? Because obviously I'm a live trader. I look at footprint charts, I look at order flow, so I'm seeing things live, and then have a minimum risk to reward. So minimum risk to reward of 3. If you get to 3, and I still see sellers are still active, I wouldn't have taken profits here, right? You go until you see sellers have come in, buyers are coming in, and once you see that buying is being rewarded, you just cut your scalp. That's it. And if you want to turn it to a scalp to swing, you would plan it accordingly, right? But you do everything off key levels. Don't once you're off this range, there is no point in you trying to scalp this. People think just because you're scalping, they need to be in this, and this. No, you're still scalping off your key areas, right? Now, how you find significant areas is completely up to you. I've got my own system. Someone else will have their own system, right? But what you deem as significant levels, those are the only areas. Doesn't matter if it swings or scalps. Those are the only areas you should be looking at scalps, not in the middle of nowhere. All this, that's noise. You don't trade that, okay? Only pull the trigger at key areas. But yeah, so let me go back to the chat real quick. No problem, bro. Let me take a look. Okay, so right, let's take a look. Better wins. I'm either a swinger or a scalper, bro. So I'm trading with conviction, right, with size, and just holding for the higher time frame moves. So for example, if I was to, just to show proof, because I don't like to just talk, I've already mentioned to you guys the challenge account I started, right, within my own place. Hang on, let me just share some shit. Hang on, I'll just forward it into stage there. I'll just forward some stuff as proof, right? Because as a trader, you need to be able to back yourself up. You can't just talk and say, yeah, this is what I've done. So here's proof of everything. A challenge account open in my own group, in more than 2x it already, right? The best. How many of you remember that $48 to $16,000 trade that I took in basically not trade, but rather when I took that $48 account to 16,000 in 2023? Is anyone here like an OG enough to remember that? Well, I think I've done the best thing. I think I've taught myself with that, because if I do this and I share this, I have taken this is honestly the best I've ever done in terms of a hang on, let me just show it forward. But basically, if you click on, I think it's on one of those. Yeah, is that one that says ETH against BTC, right? Literally, used margin was 14 and just added a tiny bit more, right? But literally for my challenge account, I started it to show people you do not need much size to get started with trading, right? And the same thing I'm saying to you guys now. You don't need much size to get started with trading if you know what you're doing, right? That is literal right there, right? That's not a demo account or anything. That's proper. Look at that. That says equity, right? That is a $16 trade, right? To where you can see the profits is 1,000 plus. I don't think I've ever done anything crazy like that in my life. Like I've made a lot of money, but never taken something as small as literal, like that's change, right? That's change, 16, 14, $16 to a G plus. And hopefully, honestly, if ETH against BTC keeps going, I think that is going to be a 5-figure trade. Hopefully comfy in the 5 figures. Right, which is why I'm I really want a flash dump on ETH against BTC, because if my bids on ETH against BTC now get a pullback and get filled, and more of the actual account is in use rather than, like you can see, right? If you click on it, available margin 98%. I've only used 1.36% of the actual account. So if I can then increase the exposure to like 10, 15, 20, 25, 30%, since I'm already in the green, I've got the leverage to do that. I've got the buffer, right? If I can do that, then that can easily be like a comfy mid 5-figure trade from literally $14. So it's gonna be the crazy. I'll keep you guys updated on that one, but it's gonna be the craziest thing I've ever done in terms of trading, if I can take that from $14 to like 5 figures basically. But yeah, like, you know, I'm either a high time frame trader or a scalper, right? So when I 2x the challenge account over the last month or so, that was all higher time frame trading. Well, I positioned if you guys watch my videos, you should have been positioned too, but I positioned myself, positioned my own group when no one wanted to, right? Literally first ETH entries, April of 2025, right? When the seller absorption came on, 1,500. Gave the size up, June, when we reclaimed key inflection area mid, when no one wants to enter, right? And then again, the reason CT is so bearish is because most people enter at moments like this. They miss the majority of the move up, they start celebrating the drawdown. But here's, right, what drawdown? Because for my group and myself, right, and of course anyone who's in my streams and watches videos, because I go over the same shit all the time. If you're in from these lows, even if you just entered over here, you were up 86%. People did not celebrate that because they didn't take the trade. Very few people did. And now the bears are going to be loud because they're down by 14%. Who do you think made more money? And who do you think had an easier time making that money? Right? This is why you recognize your trend. You recognize where it is necessary for you to put your foot against, like, you know, the market's neck, right? You've got to be aggressive when you need to be aggressive. This isn't where you be aggressive. This is where you now preserve. You're now aware you've already caught a very good entry that has a very low likelihood of getting stopped out. So now you just preserve. If you see opportunity to hedge, you hedge to protect any downside. Ultimately, though, you're chasing higher prices, right? So I either swing or I scalp, right? If I'm scalping, I'm using tick-based charts, right? I'm using time-based charts on the 1 minute to 3 minutes, 1 minute to 5 minute, my preferred being 3 minute entry models. If I'm going to size up on the lower time frame, basically take it from a scalp to a swing, that's going to be 15. Or I'm entering, looking at around yearly levels, around 6-month levels. I'm looking at, you know, for analysis, I'm looking at, you know, biannual, I'm looking at quarterly, I'm looking at triannual. My entries are typically going to be on the daily, right? Weekly price action, time frame aligned to the daily for entries for spot, higher time frame leverage swings, so on and so forth. I do not mess around with the medium time frame stuff, right? I'm either scalping in and out, high frequency, or I am just in with size in just some, like, you know, higher time frame conviction plays. That's how I typically trade, bro. I mean, you've seen me. If you follow my Twitter, you would have seen some of the results. Like if you scroll back to on my Twitter timeline to around this time last year, you'll see, like, when I was posting all the PNLs of me scalping as well. Like I was making like 13k a day because I have a baseline, right? I always keep my scalp portfolio at 10k. It's very, very tiny amount. If it gets wiped, if I get rugged, I don't care. It's what it is. Zero emotional attachment is what it is. Little money, right? 10k. And my goal when I'm scalping is, let's make as much as I can. Whatever profits I make, let me take it out, reset the account to 10k, rinse and repeat, right? Unless it's a challenge account, I do not try to quote unquote compound the account. That's for higher time frame. That's for spot. That's not for the lower time frame. With the lower time frame, I'm here to just extract as much value as possible and get out. That's it. But yeah, with my 10k account, I was making like 13k a day, right? For like a solid month in when basically this time last year, when we were over here on Bitcoin, this range. It's on my Twitter. I'm not chatting shit. It's literally on my Twitter. You can go find it. I was also streaming during that time. But I'm either a lower time frame trader or a higher time frame trader. And like I've been saying for my streams, I've been prioritizing the higher time frame over the last quarter, so on and so forth. I've not really been scalping because when alts are down, right? When alts are down at all these lows, right? You go and you take a look at AVAX. You go and take a look at Aptos. You go and take a look at Injective, Doge. Doesn't matter. When all of these alts look so good on the macro, but they're at these lows, Why would I waste time and energy scalping and getting stopped out so many times, right? And just trading this range and exiting when my main priority should be, let me over time build a bag, right, where there is low risk to myself, in the anticipation that yes, there is a very high chance that this can reprice higher, right? So I'm either swinging or I'm scalping. No medium time frame stuff. I don't mess around with the 4 hours, the 12 hours, so on and so forth. I don't really do that. Medium time frame trading is not really for me. But yeah, so that's that, right? I'll quickly go through some alts, but I will need to go soon. I think PAL, this one I'm watching, and I'm hoping for some serious strength to come into this one because where is it? Not ticks. It's gonna be under this, I believe. One sec. Focus. This is what I'm watching. Just keep an eye on PAL, right? Look, you're only gonna get into this here. Okay, you can start slowly adding here, especially if you get a liquidity rate. Yeah, that's fine. But above this, PAL absolutely flies. I think it's very close to resolution. It is super close to resolution. Okay, if you can get above this and you can get this breakout, PAL looks ready to go. So this is one of the ones I'm keeping an eye on. Not in this right now, right? I'm only going to be in this when this gets flipped to conviction. Okay, but PAL's one to watch. Say is another one. I think Say looks amazing. Higher highs, higher lows. The reason we're rejecting is because again you hit a deep Gartley, but if you hang on, what? That's the deep Gartley. So how far have we come down? Most of these lines you don't need. Okay, so I'm just going to turn off the ones you don't need. Don't confuse yourself with too many lines. There you go. If you reject off the 382, here's easy one. Okay, if you keep rejecting Say off the 382, because no matter how good this candle looks, it's closing below this particular area. Say is an easy scalp. If the daily closes like this, right, below the 382 and below that high there, it is an easy place for you to literally attempt like a scalp, like a very tight RR head short, right? You could be raiding that liquidity, putting on the high low in, and then going higher. So something like that for Say if the daily closes as bad as this. Hang on, let me leave that on. But this is only after the close. Don't enter right now because you know we still have 6 hours to the daily close. You could very well recapture it within the next 6 hours. But Ondo, I think the entire RWA sector looks absolutely amazing. I think they're very undervalued. Look at Ondo. It's refusing to go back into its previous consolidation ranges, right? I'm fully positioned in this. As long as Ondo is above this zone, just understand, as long as you're above this, you're targeting this range, right? It's very simple. If you go and turn this to resistance, you can get rid of your Ondo until you go deeper into the box. But as long as you're above, you're holding. You're buying, you're holding at this area, okay? You're not waiting for lower prices. You wait for lower prices after a key level has been lost, not when you're holding a key level, okay? But there's honestly so many guys, right? Doge, I think, is another one, like I said, looks fantastic. I would not be surprised. I'm telling you now, I would not be surprised if you genuinely get a dollar Doge this cycle. Just because it feels like, you know, 100k BTC and then 5k ETH, right? And then $1 Doge. Those just seem like nice psychological levels that's going to hit one point or another, right? So does it mean it has to hit? No, of course not, right? But I would love it if Doge did go to $1, right? So that's something Doge is another one, right? There's honestly so much. AVAX, right? Aptos. There's still a very good areas for spot entries, right? You don't have to enter all at once. Just, you know, for those of you that know my entry model, 20-40-40, just use that. Go in with the amount you're willing to invest with over here, right? For example, you will look at this and say, where is my... let me go back over here. You will look at this and you'd say, where is my invalidation? So for example, on Aptos right here, your invalidation would be if $4.16 is turning to resistance, you cut, right? That means if you were to enter here, your logical stop loss would be like, you know, you could do this for a swing, 12%. Honestly, for a swing, that's completely fine, especially for spot, right? You would say, okay, I'm going to enter. For saying my stop loss is 13% away, you would, what I typically do for entries, right? Some of you will already be familiar with this, is my own entry model, right? This is for CMP entry, okay? So whatever your position size is, I call it 20-40-40, but it doesn't mean you have to stick with 20-40-40. If my risk is literally like, you know, let's say between 10 to 20%, right? In this case, around 13, I will go in with somewhere between 30 to 40% here, for example, right? And then you just change accordingly. So let's say you get one with 40% CMP entry. That means you have 60% left. So if you split it evenly, that's 30 and 30, right? 30% is to DCA with should it go a bit lower, or, you know, if key levels get flipped into support, right? And the final 30% is strictly to add when the actual trend shift is confirmed, because it does not make sense to be fully positioned in a downtrend. It only makes sense to be fully positioned once you've confirmed you've gone from a downtrend to an uptrend, and vice versa if you're in shorts, right? So there's so many ways you can easily manage your risk, slowly enter over time, start building positions on many of these alts where it's going to look horrible now, but you check back on this, like, it doesn't take much for price to move from here to here. One bullish news, all it takes for the sentiment to flip entirely bullish again on CT. And all of a sudden, prices are once again pumping 40-50%, right? So there's honestly so many alts, guys. There's so many alts you can look at. My honest opinion, focus on 3 to 5. Do not, especially at this stage of the cycle, focus on 3 to 5 alts, just size up on those. Do not be in 10, 20, 30 alts, okay? Focus on 3 to 5, and then you'll be fine. So yeah, on spot, I swing only. I don't scalp with spots. And with leverage, obviously, I do both swings and scalps. My Discord's private, bro. Gentle. It's for my clients, because I got my own system. Like I said, I do one-on-ones. For one-on-one clients, they get in. It's lifetime membership for them. I've not got it open to the public. I don't take like monthly fees or whatever. But yeah, so leverage for spot, I don't like scalp with spot. For spot, I only use it when I think, which is also why for the longest time through, like, once we pumped in 2023 to 2024, I didn't give any spot plays. Right? People are like, why do you only trade spot? They completely forget the fact there was a year and a half where I was touching solely leverage, no spot, right? There's a time and a place for everything. You're not gonna buy spots, right? The mistake people make is they won't do here. They'll waste their time, lower time frame scalping here. They'll realize, oh shit, Aptos is at $10, and then they'll start buying spot positions over here, thinking FOMO. But this is a terrible place to enter spot in terms of risk in terms of ROI, right? Because from the lows you're already up like 2x. So even though, yes, you might still be in for another, let's say, potential 2x, if you just bought spot when it was time to do so, then you would be up like a 3-4x, easy. And then you can instead use leverage, right? You can, after you take some profits off from spot perhaps, right? You can use that to just go into like a low leverage swing if key levels get flipped. That's the way to do it. Leverage is a tool. The thing most people do wrong is they waste all their time and energy scalping this on the lower time frame, and they completely miss the move on the higher time frame, right? That's literally what happened. When we had this pump for the last couple of weeks, right? And literally many alts went, for example, right? The alts I kept talking about, Ondo did numbers. Say did numbers, right? 130 something percent, right? That was literally where I was saying buy, say, buy, say, buy, say. ETH did numbers. SWI absolutely did numbers, right? The key level that we're looking at, which is the deep crab, right? 1.618 plus the Standard Deviation 100. From that entry, we literally went up 84%. People miss that entire move. The entire move. You had to just buy and hold. You would have got basically 2x across the board on every single alt that we were looking at for months on end. We were looking at this for months and months and months, right? And then people look at this and be like, oh, we're still bearish. When in reality, we've had a 100%, like basically a 2x across many different alts, right? So of course we're going to get a pullback. People have been top lasting. You want to see a visual representation of top lasting? Here you go. Market longs. Where'd you see it? At resistance, because now FOMO is kicking in. Market psychology 101. There's a load of trap traders. We're just making sure that they punished, and then we'll I promise you we're going to resume higher. Look, loads of trap shorts now. People didn't short the top. You would expect the market shorts come in here, but market longs came in there. Look where the market shorts are coming in. After you've had from the top, after you've had like a 30% pullback, 26% pullback, and all of a sudden people think it's a good idea to market short. I wouldn't be surprised if these now got trapped and we went a bit higher and chopped around some more before ultimately going higher. It's like you buy at the lows so that this chop doesn't bother you. You use leverage then to trade the chop, right? But you're already holding your main bags. You're holding that with conviction. That's how I meant to do it. But yeah, guys, I think that'll be it from me. Just wanted to quick update my thoughts on BTC. What I would recommend you guys do, right? And just because it's been a while since I streamed it, I thought let's go in and actually take a look at, see how everyone's doing, and give my thoughts on things. Of course, that is a nasty weekly candle. Wouldn't be surprised if we continue lower a bit more. But ultimately, we're just looking to put another higher low in. Look, low, high, higher low. That's a higher high. Another higher low. Guess what? The trend resumes to the upside, right? So yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. But yeah, guys. No, just DM me, gentle bro, if you're interested. Just DM me. We'll get it sorted there, bro. Um, but yeah, there's a few clients of mine here already. I can see one, two. I can see three. Yeah, three clients currently here. But is anyone here with no spot bags or anything like that currently? Just want to check something. Minimal spot bags right now. Yeah, that's fine. As long as you have a, no, that's good, right? Taking profits never hurts. As long as you have a plan for, okay, because if you think the top is in and you exited, that's a different thing, right? But if you do believe the top is not in, and you believe that we will resume higher, then be on the lookout for whenever that strength comes in, okay? And then you just slowly execute over time. Whatever your entry model is, whatever you think as a you think top's in, fair enough. Yeah, I mean if that's your thinking, you do what's right for your port, right? Yeah, I do a lot of left plays, bro. Yeah, I do a lot of leverage plays. That ETH against BTC trade, that's a leverage play. That's 200x. I just don't give signals actively right now. I used to give signals a lot. Again, if you scroll back up on my channel, I know right now it's just like video links, but if you scroll up, like 2023 is, I gave so many. If you look at my yearly report for 2023, I think I gave about 50 calls, 100% win rate over the year. It was like 3,000, 4,000% on leverage gains. There was a lot, right? But yeah, I just don't do signals anymore because people weren't taking them because I've got my own system. People didn't understand it, so they didn't take it. But I'm not obliged to then, like, just give my entire system that I've spent like so long creating. Like, basically, you get what I'm trying to say, right? So it's one of those ones, yeah. So I thought I'll give, like, my entry theses, what to look for, what area to look for, the entry trigger, the stop loss trigger, so on and so forth. I thought I'll just give those in video format so people have it easier, they can actually understand it, right? And then right now I literally only give signals on my own server. That's it. Apart from that, it's all streams, so that everyone basically gets value from it. But yeah, so that's going to be it from me, guys. Next week I'm going to be in London. I'm meeting some clients, some investors for the hedge fund, and some lawyers as well. I need to get a couple of things sorted. So I'm going to be off for the week. I won't be streaming next week, but the week after that I should be free to stream again. So hopefully catch you guys the week after. Okay, but let me stop the recording here.